Now 083 333 975. You can stop texting in now about the two Johnnies, because the winner is Paul Grant from Johns Park in Waterford and Rebecca Chasty from Kilmeaden. Paul Grant and Rebecca Chasty, and the answer is Tipperary. Tipperary is the answer. It's a long way to Tipperary. The two Johnnies, we might have them on the show next week or the week after. We're going to have a really lovely man on in a little while, Rory Cowan. I read his book there over the last week, and really good read. So he's going to be in the book centre later on this morning, but he's going to come in to talk to us at around 11:30. Gavin's here in a second. We're going to talk about sports. Just one text regarding engagement rings. My God, I'd never expect my partner to dish out hundreds of thousands of euros on an engagement or a wedding ring. I'd never put him under that kind of unnecessary pressure. My engagement ring cost just over €100. My wedding ring was €90 at the end of a line sale. I chose them both myself. We got married 8 years ago. We're together now almost 20 years. The amount the rings cost doesn't mean the relationship will be any better. If he or she loves you more or less, that's the most important thing. I know plenty of couples that have spent thousands on rings and have long since broken up. That's nice, Gavin.
It certainly is, yeah. Nice ring to it. Sorry, I was just... pardon the pun. I don't watch around, sorry, I was just engaged in doing my research here, Damien. You know? I try to be kind of prepared when I come into yourself on a Friday, you know.
In case I ask you a tough out sports question,
yeah, exactly.
next Wednesday night, Premier League
yeah,
quiz.
I'm trying to round up, hoping to be available for a selection. I have the small matter of the West Waterford AC Winter League as well, so hoping to maybe, if I run that quick enough, maybe get down to the Cove then for a bit of the quiz. So yeah, we done quite well last year actually, so Adam Wise was part of our team. He was very knowledgeable, I must say, on going back through the eras and that. So yeah, hopefully make an appearance. Yeah, looking forward to it. Always a great night, and always kind of kickstarts the Christmas appeal as well, which is so well run by Roisin and the gang. So yeah, you know when that's kicking off that, you know, Christmas is coming, Damien.
Before we get into the Gaelic, we'll just stick with the soccer for a second. Yeah. There's some good important junior fixtures on over the weekend. The weather has put paid to stuff over the last 2 weeks. For a lot of we've got matches on tonight, and tomorrow then the New Balance FAI Junior Cup, 2 matches on and a Premier League match tomorrow. Yeah,
certainly is. Yeah, plenty of games to look forward to the weekend. Tramore taking on the clash of the Tramore's AFC against Rangers tomorrow night in the Premier League. That's probably the standout fixture of the weekend. You have Villa taking on Waterford Crystal and Dungarvan and Ferrybank then in the FAI Junior Cup. Of course, Dungarvan with that come from behind win over Ballin Road last weekend 4-3. That was a cracking game, I believe, in Kilrush. Great atmosphere there last Saturday night. Hibernians then in Ballin Road. That's a big game in the Premier League on Sunday as well, Damien. So Ballin Road will be keen to get points on the board. I know they're getting a few guys back from injury as well, but hoping to get points on the board. It's their first season, I suppose, back in the top flight, so I suppose they're learning as well.
And Southend playing Carrick there as well on Sunday morning.
That's
in
right.
the fourth round Junior Cup, and other matches on all through the
through
the leagues.
Too many to run through, but I know we'll be giving
full list of fixtures online and on Facebook. Massive matches over the weekend regarding the Gaelic.
Absolutely, yeah. 4 Waterford clubs representing the county this weekend, so we wish every one of them the best of luck. We'll start with, in order of, I suppose, playing, and that's tomorrow. St. Saviour's will be on the road early tomorrow. They make the trek to Pat Spillane territory, of course, in Temple No in Kerry. I was actually reading during the week they're favourites for the All-Ireland, actually, so talk about a tough opener like for the Saviour's lads. But look, they've the main objective one day, is to win your county final, and they're back up senior, and next year they're going to be celebrating 40 years, I think, in existence, so it's brilliant, and I'm delighted. I know what they put into that club, you know what I mean? The Corcorans and the Reedies and these guys, absolutely brilliant people, and edged out Medeligo in a brilliant county final. So that's at 1:30 in Temple No tomorrow. Obviously nothing to lose, hoping to go up and give a performance and have a cut, as they say, and I believe there's a few of them staying overnight as well tomorrow night, so we wish them well indeed. 1:30 Frankie Ryan is caught with work, so he can't make it, so unfortunately Frankie's waiting for the Munster semi-final, he said. So on then to Sunday then, Damien, of course, our George Corbett Skoda big match is live from Welsh Park. Ballygunner and Patrick Swell going to meet for the very first time in the Munster Club Championship, so that's pretty unique. The Gunners, of course, on the back of that brilliant win over 6 Mile Bridge, and I was watching the highlights the other night. Really, really impressive. Desi Hutchinson seems to be on fire. Injury concerns about Peter Hogan and Pádraig Mahoney. I suppose you probably won't know until Sunday when they're lining out, but whether they will pass fitness tests or whatever. Both have hamstring issues, so hopefully they'll be good enough to play. But I think Ballygunner, with strength and depth, like even if they were to be replaced, I think just Conor Power came off the bench last week, made a big impact. The younger one of the Mahoneys there as well, Kevin Mahoney. So there's strength and depth in that Ballygunner team. Barry Coughlin is settling in well in the half back line. Shane O'Sullivan, the old guard, I suppose, still around the centre of the field, just using intelligent ball into the inside line with Deise, and these guys are on fire. So if they get enough ball into that inside line, they should do the business. But they're
not going to get as much space. Patrick Swell are not going to give them the space that
and you'll have Keane Lynch buzzing around the centre of the field there. Plenty of Limerick experience there.
A lot tighter,
Aaron Gallan in the forward line, you know what I mean. He's Dermot Burns at wing back, absolutely powerful hurler, great style, attacks that ball ball at pace and delivers good ball into the forward line. So yeah, it's going to be, I wouldn't be, putting this down as a certainty for Ballygunner, but I do think
not at all.
If they can perform, Damien, and bring the same level of intensity and aggression and that work rate which you associate with the Gunners, if they bring that same level as they did last week in front of the home fans, I think they should do enough to get over the line and, to keep that back-to-back ambition on track. Rathcormac, of course, also another, speaking of being on the road early, West Clare. I was talking to Stephen Flynn there last night, who's their team physio. I think they're leaving Clonmel about 8:30 Sunday morning, so they'll be on the road early. They're taking on St. Joseph's, Milltown Malbay of Clare. They won back-to-back Clare titles this year, so they're going to be confident. It's the first time ever they're actually hosting the game in their own club ground, which is, I think it's nice that these clubs get the opportunity to. Some people would argue, why isn't that on the county ground? And I think it's great for a club to be able to host.
It's a good ground. I know Milltown Malbay. I've an uncle from there, married to my auntie, and it's a lovely ground. I remember Micheál O'Meara-Hurtig down there one day, and he was doing a commentary, and he said, still remember the Immortal Lines around 10 years ago, the Worms have done a great job on this pitch.
Right.
He was praising the West Clare Worms.
West Clare Worms, yeah. I hope they haven't brought in the sidelines now or anything narrow, because they do that in Ennis, don't they? Clare were known for that for years. But it'll be a tough game. They'll enter the game as favourites. Rathcormac, though, are on the back of they've had 3 weeks running since their county final victory, bridged that 20-year gap, and a lot of youth in that team as well. We touched on there's only 3 of them over 25. So really kind of confident team, well marshalled under Ger Power and Michael O'Loughlin, very good trainer, so well structured, well organised, and they're going to give themselves every chance going up there. They'll be proud to represent the county. They're not going up, Damien, to make up the numbers. They'll feel if they can perform,
have a really good chance.
And if they're in it with 10 minutes to go, I'd give them every chance. So we'll be keeping an eye on that one Sunday as well. And also on Sunday, Ballysaggart, of course, back in action in the Munster Intermediate Championship. Really, really tight on numbers this weekend. I know Shane Bennett is a major doubt with an ankle injury. He was talking to their manager Bobo Maher there yesterday. They're going to give him every chance, though hopefully he'll be okay to line out against Sean Tracy's of Tip. They're fairly formidable opposition there. They won the Tip Championship last weekend, coming down to Fairfield. It's a home game though for Ballysaggart. Hopefully they can get over the line 1/2 and get into intermediate final, which would be phenomenal, because you have to remember that Ballysaggart's a tiny area, tiny population, will love their hurling, passionate about it, and hopefully they can do enough to get over the line 1/2. I know it's a pity all these games are happening the same time, but we will be doing our best. We will be doing live coverage of the Ballygunner game, but we'll be linking in with our reporters as well at the other 2 venues to keep people bang up to speed. Best of luck to Galtier, Damien, who aim for back-to-back Camogie Munster titles tomorrow. They take on Toomey Vara in Capamore at 12:30. I know Tomas is going to be up at that one as well for us, so I'll be linking in.
Big match, and the very best to look with everybody.
Absolutely,
there.
yeah, a lot of work going in, and like Galtier, bitterly disappointed to have lost the All-Ireland last year, so hopefully they can do the business tomorrow. And just best of luck to the WRT Wildcats as well. They're back in action in the Women's Super League. Glanmire, they travel up to Cork tomorrow, so hoping to bounce back from last weekend's defeat. And of course the big game across channel the weekend, Damien, Liverpool and Man City, 4:30 Sunday. Everyone looking forward to that. I was glad there Liverpool last. I know a lot of in the Colligan last man standing, there was a lot of us out of the competition at 4:45 last week, but by 10:05 we're back in it thanks to those Liverpool last 2 goals. So I think I picked Spurs this week. I think they're playing Sheffield United or something, so look, it's a bit of banter every week, isn't it?
Come on,
keep things going so anyway, cracking weekend. And of course Tomas is back with an action-packed Lorna Porca tomorrow, and we'll be back with On the Ball as well tomorrow. We'll also have that exclusive interview which Matt did, Damien, with Lee Grace during the week. Of course the Carrick-on-Shore native won an FAI Cup medal with Shamrock Rovers, so that's coming up from 12 noon tomorrow, so looking forward to it.
Gavin Whelan, thank you very much. We are joined after this by Nicola Crowley, the fabulous Meze shop in Tramore. Nicola Crowley, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks a million for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am the co-owner of Meze with my husband, Devere.
Meze, that's Mezze.
That's right.
And your husband's name is?
Devere.
Devere.
Yeah.
Where's Devere from?
Devere is from Israel.
Israel, very good.
And that's where we lived together for 8 years before we moved here 4 years ago. Moved back to Waterford.
Where are you from originally?
From Waterford City. And
what part?
From Hillview. And
why did you move to Israel? Did you go to Israel?
So I met an Israeli guy, Devere, and we were both backpacking in New Zealand, and I was an English language teacher at the time. So I said, okay, I'll pack my bag again and I'll move to Israel and I'll teach English there. So I stayed there for 8 years. Thought I would never leave, actually. And then, you have a couple of kids and you think, oh, maybe I'll try something else. So we were looking for a different lifestyle, and we found it in Tramore.
And when you were backpacking, did he approach you? Did you approach him? How did it happen? Tell us about the romantic moment.
I'm not sure about what happened first, but basically I hopped into a car with 3 guys who were travelling around New Zealand. A space had become available in the car. I was travelling by bus. It was a lot more convenient to get into a car. I was a little bit nervous about doing that. And then, so Deise, yeah, exactly. Deise was one of the guys in the car, and that was that.
How was Israel? How did you find Israel? Because we hear all stories about Israel and about the hassle that goes on over there and the Palestinian and people giving out about Israel. How did you find it?
I loved it.
What part of Israel were you in?
I lived near Tel Aviv. I used to work in Tel Aviv, so commuted in and out of Tel Aviv every day. I absolutely loved it. You know, Tel Aviv's on the beach. It's a great kind of party city, very vibrant. The food is absolutely amazing. And that's one of the things that got me interested in. I was always interested in food, but then just Middle Eastern food, I just fell in love with it. Yeah,
we'll talk about that in a second. Do people talk when you're over in Israel? Do they talk about the political situation when they're over there? Do people just get on with it? Is there much security?
They do. Yeah, people are very open. They talk about how they feel about things. I worked for the British Council, so I worked with a variety of people. I worked in Arab villages. I worked with Bedouin teachers. And ultra-Orthodox Jewish women. So I really kind of got to experience the whole range of the different communities in Israel, which that was the part that I really loved. So you don't always talk politics in those situations, but you get to understand how people feel about things, and that was great.
How old are your children now?
So they are 4 and 7. My 4-year-old, he was 6 weeks old when we came here. Oren and Adele.
Lovely. And any your relatives still in Hillview?
Yes, yeah. My parents are still there.
Shout out to Mum and Dad. Yeah. What's their names?
Audrey and Pat. And they're very helpful. They're very helpful. We made sure we didn't move too far away from them, so they help out with the kids as much as they can.
Did you grow up with a love of cooking or a love of experimenting with food, or is it something that developed when you were abroad?
Well, I think the food thing, I mean, there was 5 of us in our family, and I have memories of pulling a chair to the sink because I couldn't reach the sink and peeling potatoes. So my mother definitely made sure that we knew how to cook. So I think that's the start of it. And then I think as I got older, I became more aware of what I was eating, becoming obsessed with, when you're shopping, looking at the ingredients, and why is this ingredient in here, and I can make this better, and I want to make this at home. And what I found in Israel is there was a difference between in Ireland there's a lot of pre-packed foods, whereas in Israel everything is cooked from scratch. And Deise's mother, who inspires a lot of our food, she would spend 2 days preparing food for, a family dinner. And so learning from that and learning the flavours kind of helped me move us onto food. The Guild of Fine Foods annual Shop of the Year Awards has just accredited you with, I suppose, a finalist in the Shop of the Year for 2020. As we said, Mezze, M-E-Z-Z-E. You're on Main Street in Tramore, and you're running in the category of Specialist Food Shop category. That's marvellous, isn't it? It is. It's a bit unbelievable, to be honest. We're open 5 months, the shop. We've been, Mezze's been running for 4 years. We did food festivals and farmers markets, and we did pop-ups, lunches and dinners. So we opened the doors of our deli on Main Street just 5 months ago. And to get some kind of nod to say that, there's something special about your shop within that time frame is unbelievable.
Tell us about the produce.
Yeah, so basically we have, in the shop, I think it's quite a unique mix of Middle Eastern products and Irish artisan products. So the Middle Eastern products, so there's a lot of people interested in, might have an Ottolenghi cookbook. He's very big in the Middle Eastern cooking world. But there's ingredients.
Like the Neville, is he?
Yeah. So you can't find all the ingredients that he uses in your local supermarket.
Give me some examples of.
So, for example, preserved lemons is one of the things that's found a lot in, say, Morocco Moroccan cooking and Middle Eastern cooking, and you could add those to salads, or if you're cooking up a tagine.
How do you preserve lemon? Is it in vinegar, or is it in oil?
It's mainly in salt.
Okay.
So the preserved lemons that we have are, small, thin rind, so they're quite good for cooking.
And what makes them special? What's the taste from those?
It gives that lemony taste, but it loses some of its bitterness. And then it's softer because it's been preserved. So you're eating the skin, but it's soft.
Okay.
And things like za'atar, which is a condiment that I fell in love with when I was living in Israel. So it's a mix of a kind of a thyme, a wild thyme, sesame seeds and spices, and then you can make bread and sprinkle it on bread, or you can put it on a salad, you can put it on meat. So or harissa, which is quite spicy, and you use it as a rub on vegetables or meats. So there's all of those those flavours that you can basically jazz up fairly boring ingredients and add that Middle Eastern oomph to it, with the products that we have in the shop.
And do you like cooking Middle Eastern food?
I love cooking Middle Eastern food, but it's a mix of everything at home. We have our Middle Eastern nights, but the kids, dominate a lot. they want burgers, and we do oven chips and that kind of thing as well. So you have to mix it up for them too.
And is it important, do you think, to have a mixture of tastes as well? For example, your traditional Irish bacon and cabbage would be completely anathema maybe to some of the rich spices that you get in Middle Eastern foods. Is it important, do you think, to give the children different varieties on the palate?
Yeah, each family does their own thing. They might have different flavours that they incorporate, but what we try to give our kids is a variety of different tastes, of different vegetables, of different textures. And what I like about Middle Eastern food is not only the flavours and the textures, but actually how the food is served. So always in the Middle East, when you go to dinner, the food is served in the middle of the table. It's not served to your plate. I feel like there's I feel like a certain pressure when somebody serves me the food on a plate, that I have to finish everything or I have to like everything that's on the plate. Whereas you'd sit down and you start off with maybe 8 different dishes in front of you, dips, salads, breads, and you choose what you like and you go back for more to the thing that you like, and then that's cleared, and then the main course comes out, and you might have 5 other dishes, and again you choose what you like from there. And my mother-in-law, for that started, she'd start giving out to us going, stop eating, there's more food coming, this kind of thing. And I love that. I know I'm not saying that Irish people don't serve in the middle of the table, but it's very much part of it. It's very much of this kind of this digging in with your own fork into the middle of the table, of fighting over the favourite dish.
3 or 4 veg, different type, roast potatoes, mashed potato, the whole lot, croquettes on the plate, 4 or 5 different types of potato. The plate is piled up, really.
Yeah, and when it's piled up as well, it's a bit daunting sometimes.
I know some people that would just go, oh my God, I can't eat that. And as you say, they'll get an anxiety attack listening to it, looking at it.
And it's one thing, if it's your own house, you pile up the plate or whatever, but when you're in someone else's and you might necessarily like part of it and you feel like you might insult them, so that's...
Then if some people don't like gravy, and if gravy's put in the middle oh my God.
Yeah, so going back to the kids, we try to do the same thing with the kids, that we put the food in the middle of the table, and we encourage them to try everything.
And forks and knives or fingers?
Forks and knives. No, we don't go that far. Dweer's family do forks and knives as well. But the one thing that I kept forgetting when we started doing our pop-up dinners is that you need serving spoons, because in the Middle East, everyone digs in with their own fork, you eat with it, and then you tuck it back in again. But there's no double dipping in Ireland, so you have to adapt culturally, to that. And
tell us about Mum and Dad. Are they good at this big sort of spread in the middle? Would they like it? Have you cooked for them in that way?
Oh, yeah, definitely. They love it.
Because it's a far more communal thing in some respects, isn't it?
Yeah, and it makes it very social. My parents love it. They loved, coming to visit us when we lived in Israel and going to my mother-in-law's house and experiencing that. It was almost like the tourist destination. When any of our friends came, we tried to schedule in a dinner at my mother-in-law's house.
And has your mother-in-law been over to Ireland?
Yes, she has. She
And
was
has she-
over
she tried
recently, actually. Yeah.
Irish food, as they call it.
Yeah, she actually took over our kitchen and cooked her own food more than anything. We did take her to Movo's restaurant, so she's very happy with that. But mainly she cooked for herself.
This competition is very prestigious, and Shop of the Year 2020, it'll reach its exciting finale on the 9th of March, when the world of fine food will gather at the Father Farm Shop at Harrogate in England, in London. So you're going to be up against a lot of tough competition.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's why I'm a little bit in shock that we got shortlisted, because there's so many amazing independent shops out there.
And did you know somebody? Did somebody come in to check out the produce?
Not yet. So basically, we've been shortlisted, and then now there's 2 more parts to the process. So first of all, there's going to be a mystery shopper call in. So now we think that everybody is a mystery shopper, and then a judge will come in to have a chat with us and learn more about our business. Which I think that's really nice, that it's not just one person coming in and getting a 10-15 minute feel of the place, but actually somebody talks to you about what you're doing, what you're trying to do, and what your business is all about.
So it's Britain and Ireland combined.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And some of the judges include Edward Berry of the Flying Fork, Stuart Gates, former managing director of Fontram & Mason, and a senior buyer at Harrods, award-winning retailer Tracy Colley, and food writer Patrick McGuigan. Best of luck.
Thanks a million.
And well done, even to get nominated.
I know.
It's phenomenal.
We're delighted. We're really, really delighted. We're looking forward to hearing more about it now.
And your opening hours?
Our opening hours, we open from Tuesday to Saturday, 8:30 to 5:30, Tuesday to Friday, and 9 to 5 on a Saturday.
Main Street, Tremor.
Main Street, Tremor, yeah.
Are you enjoying it?
Loving it, yeah. There's
life is good.
Yeah, it's the shop that we wanted. It's not just a shop. We're using it for doing evening events, and we're doing demos. We have a demo on Saturday, learning how to prepare canapes and party food and cocktails. So that's going to be a fun one. I'm looking forward to that.
Nicola Crowley, thank you so much.
Thanks a million.
Nicola, thank you very much for that. My best Mrs. Brown's moment has to be when Rory's own phone rang during the show while talking to Mrs. Brown. Do you remember that, Rory?
I do indeed, and I'll tell you what that was. That was a punishment.
A punishment?
It was. What happened was, we were rehearsing the day before.
Yeah.
And the one thing is, you never bring your phone on the set.
Yeah.
And I went out to have a cigarette. We had a break, and then I had my phone with me just to check on something. This is Rory, you're needed back on. So I ran back in, and I just put the phone in my pocket, and it rang. And then I said, I'm terribly sorry, and nobody said anything. But the next day, a phone went off, and I thought, that's not mine. My phone is up in my dressing room. And Mrs. Brown said, that's your phone. I said, it's not. She said, it is. And there was a phone, somebody's phone, in they put a phone in my pocket. But then another one went off. There was a phone in the back. They put phones everywhere. Just to teach me a lesson. Never bring a phone on the set.
We're going to be talking to Rory more in a second. Firstly, just want to give a little mention to a man I know very well, Terry. He fought he was part of the Irish contingent in the Congo 50 years ago, believe it or not. I don't remember it, obviously. We don't remember it. But Damien, today's the day I'll never forget, because as we heard, JFK was elected president of the USA. Our celebrations were brought to earth very fast when we heard 9 members of our battalion had been massacred 30 miles away in a place called Naimba 59 years ago, to the day. A lot of Waterford lads were members of the battalion, including your former next-door neighbour, Terry. Condolences to all the families. That is from Tom in Castleville in Dungarvan. We're going to be doing something about that next week, Tom. Thanks very much for that. Keep your texts and comments coming in. We also have a copy of Rory's book, Rory Cowan, Mrs. Cowan's Boys, to give away. All we want you to do is text in Mrs. Brown's Boys into... Actually, no. Text in the word Rory.
Rory. I like that.
R-O-R-Y. Rory into 083 333 975. We are back with... what do we talk about first? Brexit and politics and all heavy stuff?
Oh, go on.
Yeah, go on. Yeah. We will, yeah.
You get the shortest answers ever.
Now, as I said, we are joined by on Taoiseach... Rory Cowan. How are you, Rory?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for coming down to us. And thank you so much
for having me.
No, I mean that. And we're just talking off air about the fact of doing the circuit. And you get a lot of people that write books, and they kind of just... presume maybe big-headedly, it'll be grand, it'll sell or whatever.
There's a weird one that I don't understand, because my background is marketing and PR. I have a H-dip in marketing and PR, and I was the marketing manager for EMI. I ran all Brendan O'Carroll's marketing when I was working with him for years.
Yeah.
I was with him for 26 years. And I don't and Mrs. Brown's Boys, after every show, like you'll see sometimes now people will say there's VIP packages where you pay extra money, you meet the artists and you get... I've no time for that. That is greed. And I would say to anybody, never pay money to meet somebody, ever. It's greed. It is greed. How much money do you need to make? But we used to go out after all the Mrs. Brown shows and meet everybody.
Yeah.
And
like the
we'd be signing
like the priest going out after mass.
No,
and
but
saying
we would be signing stuff that they bought, like programmes or T-shirts or hats. So,
well, is that personal touch?
Anyone who wanted to meet us could meet us.
Yeah.
And I think if you're going to sell something or you're promoting someone, you've got to get out and meet people. You've got to go and see the people you're... So many authors I've found out since this is my first book, probably my only one, but I hope not, but it's probably my first one. And I found out there's so many authors who think that once it's written, it's done.
Yeah.
And to me, once it's written, that's the start of it. Now you've got to promote it and sell it, and you've got to get out and meet the people that will buy it.
Yeah. And you're going into the book centre.
I'm going to the book centre after this, so I'm looking forward to that.
So if anybody wants to go in there and get a signed copy of it, we have a signed copy to give away now at the present, and we're going to give that away in a little while. I've read the book. I'm not like some people in different organisations that get other people to read the books for them. Say nothing. A couple of questions, quick fire questions. Your favourite show, your favourite moment for Mrs. Brown's Boys. Have you a favourite?
The Mrs. Brown's Boys, my favourite moment was when Mrs. Brown wanted to find out. She knew someone in the family was gay. She initially thought it was herself and Winnie because she'd read a book and said that women do things together, and that made them gay. And she thought, well, me and Winnie play bingo, so we must be, are we lesbians? And then she thought it was everybody except Rory. And then when she found out it was Rory, she got a book and she was giving Rory the book, and Rory was delighted that it was all out in the open now, and he said, oh, thanks very much, and he ran upstairs, and Mrs. Brown says, oh God, she says, that was a very hard thing to do. I hope Rory never has to go through explaining that to his children. Like, Mrs. Brown never got it. She never got it. But she just wanted Rory to be happy, and that was good enough for her.
And we'll come back to that in a minute. Do you remember the gonorrhea moment?
I do. That's another. There's so many funny ones there.
Have a listen.
Dermot's taking Maria off to Venice for the weekend. She's going to be going up and down in their gonorrhea.
I think you mean Gorgonzola.
You're right, Gorgonzola. It's in the Gorgonzola. It's the gonorrhea that rose.
Brendan had a way of doing things. He knew.
Go on, tell us.
He could go in and, like, that was totally unscripted. That wasn't rehearsed. We didn't know. I didn't know. I was genuinely laughing there. But the next line was in the script. And it worked perfectly because I laughed the gonorrhea, the gorgonzola and all that, and I was gone. I was in a heap. Because I'm not a trained actor, and if something funny happens, and Brendan O'Carroll is the funniest comedian I've ever seen. So when he goes off on one, I've the best seat. I'm right beside Mrs. Brown when it happens. But the very next line, where I'm falling around the place laughing, and the line in the script was, Rory, why are you so sad? Which meant like it was like a double whammy. I was even got worse then after that. But he was great at doing that.
Yeah, I interviewed him before when I was on Ear to the Ground, and I've worked with him on a couple of different things, and there's an infectious thing. People get it in any walk of life. If somebody starts laughing, you'll start laughing beside them. There is this infectious thing.
I do it. And on the live broadcast, when we went... There was one scene that I had to get word perfect, and it was being broadcast to 10 million or 12 million people live. And so there was real pressure on, and I got through it, got everything going, and all I had to do was just get me and Dina were going out the door. And we got to the kitchen door, and Mrs. Brown says, Rory, come here a minute. Oh, no. And I went, oh my God, oh no, what's he doing? Oh no. And then he started talking about Mrs. Murphy's cat, but he wasn't referring to it as a cat. And I hadn't a clue where he was going with this. So in the end, I just jumped up and ran out the door laughing. I thought, well, you started it, you can finish it. But he would, like, things like that never bothered him. The idea of 10 million people or 12 million people watching this live didn't bother him.
Yeah. Cool out.
He knew that this was going to be, like, he has this thing that he knows what's going to be funny, and when he does it, it is hilarious.
Is there any chance you go back to Mrs. Brown's Boys?
No.
Definitely
I'm finished now. No, I'm like
Definitely.
when you finish it.
Some people are texting in that already now.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I finished, and I had a good run. I worked with. I had a very lucky career, very lucky life, charmed life. Really, I was in EMI. I had 2 employers in 40 years. EMI Records and Brendan O'Carroll, and Brendan was the longest. His was 26 years, and EMI for 14, and they were my 2 employers. And I did have a good time with Brendan. I loved working with Mrs. Brown's Boys until it became massive. And then it became a chore for me. It became, we were doing the same gigs in the same order year after year after year.
And there was that method and there was all that reason that for the success. But like boy bands, there might be a stage possibly in 3 or 4 years' time. You just wouldn't know. Would you rule it out completely?
I think I would. I love it. I always think it's manners to wait till you're asked, and I haven't been asked back. But I don't think I would. I mean, I've done it and I've moved on. And if I'd stayed in Mrs. Brown's Boys, I could have still gone round that circuit. I could have still done it. I've been very well paid for it.
Yeah.
But since I left, I did 2 pantos in the Olympia in Dublin. I've written this book, and I'm in Fair City. I would have done none of those things if I was still in Mrs. Brown. I'm loving life. Life is good. Life is very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing lots of new... This is my first book. I don't know if there's going to be another one, so that's why I want to get around to meet everybody.
Yeah.
Because I would hate to think in January, if I'd have done that, it might have done better. But I want to go out and meet everybody, and especially going to the bookshops. I love that. Because we used to do that in Mrs. Brown's Boys. We used to go out afterwards and sign and it could take up to 3 hours. You'd meet the people. And so that's what my background is, and all the other actors in Mrs. Brown's Boys, that's their background.
You mentioned cats earlier on.
Yeah.
I was reading in the book about your love of cats. Why cats?
I don't know what it is, because we always had dogs growing up, and I was never a dog lover.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do any harm to a dog, but I would never buy a dog. But I had visited, when I moved into the estate that I'm in now, in 1990 when I bought my house, cats used to come visit me, and I'd feed them. And I got to love the cats. And there was one lovely one, Ructions. He was my favourite, but he was knocked down. I was in Israel for the Eurovision earlier on this year, and while I was there, he was knocked down. He was an old cat. He was 18 or 19. But then I said to Linda Martin, who won the Eurovision, I said to her, she's involved with animal rights, and after my mother died, and I was doing the panto.
Your mother died only 2018 last year?
Tuesday, just gone, was our first anniversary. And I said to Linda, I'd like to get a cat now, I'd like to get a pet. And she says, leave it with me, don't buy one, don't go to a breeder, get a rescue one. And I said, okay, that's fine. And she sent me a photograph of 2 cats, and she says, which one do you like? And I liked both of them, and I said, what's the story with them? She said, oh, they're brother and sister. And she gave me the story. She said they were born under a van in a car park just off Sean McDermott Street in Dublin. And the male cats, wild cats, had already eaten 2 of them.
Oh, Jamie.
By the time the rescue people got them. Another one died soon after the rescue people got them, and then 2 were adopted out, and there was 2 left. And so I said, oh, they're brother and sister. I said, did they like each other? Because I heard cats don't get on. And she said, the 2 of them are inseparable. And I thought, well, I can't separate them now. So I took the 2 and I called them Pebbles and Bam Bam after the babies in the Flintstones. Pebbles and Bam Bam. And the names suit them. Bam Bam is him, and he's a real bruiser of a cat. Where Pebbles, the female cat, she's very ladylike and everything. Like, they're 2 different personalities, but they do get on. They love each other.
Stay with us. Your texts are coming in 083 333 975. Mrs. Brown will never be the same without the real Rory. Love that man. Now we are joined by Rory Cowan still. Firstly, a quick mention, some breaking news. There are reports that the main suspect in the kidnapping and torture of Kevin Lunny has died. The man in his 50s reportedly took ill when police were searching his home in Derbyshire in England. There'll be more on the news about that later. And also the protest regarding psychiatric services is taking place at 1:30 this afternoon. The winner of our book is Nicky Rossiter from Bishopsfield and Williamstown Road. Well done, Nicky.
Well Rossiter. Done, Nicky.
We'll sign.
I will sign it and
Nicky,
personalise it to Nicky.
On the psychological services and on, I suppose, stresses that people are under, just one serious question in the whole lot. The book is fascinating, as I say, Rory, that it's so happy. There's so many amazing stories in it. There's a little bit of sadness underneath it. The fact that There was obviously stress going up in your life for different reasons. Your dad died in 2008 and your mother died in 2018. You came out as a gay man when you were 24?
Yes.
But your dad never knew.
No, he never knew because he was a complete innocent.
Yeah.
He was a trade union official. He was involved in the trade union movement. So was my mother.
Yeah.
He was in SIPTU. And he was in the 60s, he was really heavily involved in travellers' rights. He was always involved in human rights, workers' rights, all this type of stuff. And if he had understood gay people or understood the gay issue, he would have said, yeah, they deserve the same rights as everybody else. But he never got... Because I remember we were talking one time when they were talking about... what was before same-sex marriage? What was it called? That thing that they sort of... civil partnerships. How quick you forget. They were talking about that on the telly when he was alive, and he was saying, what are they talking about? And my mother was trying to explain it to him, and she was saying, well, it's when two men wanted to live together. And he says, well, men always did that. They always shared digs when they were... When I was working in London in the 50s, he says, I shared digs with a friend of his, Tom Garrity, and stuff like that. We all shared. And my mother said, no, they share the same bed. It's just... But there was builders. They used to be... One would be getting out of the bed to go to work, and the other would be finishing work and getting into the bed. They always shared. And she said, no. And she mentioned it was like living like a couple, like having sex. And he just went, no. No. And he laughed. He said, he didn't get it. It just never came on his radar. He was an innocent that way.
Did you find it, like, difficult? Like, wouldn't it be great if a time exists in the not too distant future that we're not defined by sexuality?
I think it's happening very, very quick. Since the same-sex marriage thing came in and the world didn't fall apart and the sky didn't fall down on top of everybody, attitudes have changed. And that vote showed that most people don't mind, have no problem, and they want everyone to have equal rights. And when that happened, things started changing very, very quickly. I see it in Dublin now. If I'm out and you see people walking down the streets, guys or girls, usually young people, they're holding hands.
Holding hands, yeah.
Nobody bats an eyelid. Nobody cares. In my day, you wouldn't have done that. You would have been kicked senseless.
Yeah. And yet we have to be careful because there are some people out there still that want to react to that. And there may be people looking at, like, there have been attacks.
But the thing, there have been attacks, but in Dublin, and I'm sure it's going to be the same everywhere else, it will happen quick, the ordinary other people will not accept that. If they see that happening, they'll step in and they'll stop it. And if it's starting to kick off, the days of people having it their own way where they could pick on people who are different or perceived to be different, whether that's skin colour, sexuality or whatever it is, that's gone. And I think Ireland is a fabulous country to live in now. It's a lovely little country because we do... After that same-sex marriage thing, I know, like, the people make up the country, and it's fabulous. I just think Ireland is brilliant.
Quick mention about RTE. Do you think RTE needs to change? Do you think the comedy in RTE, like, for example, you've obviously known the PR, the marketing section, you know Brendan over the years.
But RTE, I'd say, RTE were very supportive of Mrs. Brown's Boys. Since the very start. I mean, Mrs. Brown started on RTE, on 2FM. They were always very supportive, and they're producers with the BBC and Brendan O'Carroll. Yeah. They're producing Mrs. Brown's Boys. It's on television now. So RTE have always been very... I can't say anything. I've had fabulous experiences of RTE with comedy. I just think they're brilliant.
Yeah.
There's other ways of doing it. Like, they couldn't have afforded to do Mrs. Brown's Boys on its own, but they found a way of doing it where they could be a joint producer. And there's lots of opportunities to do things like that.
Why did you love Sandy Shaw?
I saw Sandy Shaw in the Eurovision in 1967 and I just thought she was the most glamorous thing I've ever seen. And I still, if I see something that is a magazine or she's on television or there's something about her somewhere, I will read it, I will watch it, like, the only other person, Sandy Shaw I adored. In the 60s I loved the female singers. But with Sandy Shaw, I wanted to marry her and I was convinced. At 8 years of age, I was going to marry her. And I talk about it in the book, and I give the story about my mother and father falling around the place laughing.
Right,
but I wanted to marry her. I thought she was brilliant. She was so glamorous, and she was just gorgeous looking. And she had a lovely voice, and she'd great songs. Her records were fabulous.
Ornaments. You love ornaments.
Ornaments, I never did. I never liked them. But I do now, because when my mother was in the throes of dementia, when I'm writing about it in the book, I wanted to have the funny things about dementia because there's some dreadful things. But anyone who's caring for somebody with dementia will tell you there are hilarious things there because people with dementia lose their filter. And they say the most inappropriate things at the most inappropriate time and usually in front of a crowd. But My mother, when she had dementia, she couldn't communicate properly. So you'd go up and you'd run out of things to say. Like you'd say, "How are you, ma'am? Oh, your hair's lovely. You're looking well." But there's nothing coming back, so you run out of things. So I remember one day I would read to her, and I would try and involve her in that. Like I was always reading Claudia Carroll's books to her. Claudia's a friend of mine. And we'd say a line is, now Damien's that they're getting out of the car, he's coming into the house, and I'd say to me, "Matt, now what do you think of that?" And she'd go, Now I'd be looking at her and talking to her, and I'd just be reading, and that was how I tried to communicate, get something out of her. And it worked. But one day she always had Toby jugs and ornaments. Her house was always very busy with stuff.
Yeah, that's right. You described it
so
really
I was just taking down the ornaments, and I was saying, "Do you remember this one, ma'am? Do you remember this Toby jug? We had that in Ballyfermot." And she'd just smile and she'd look at it and say, "Remember we got this one in Athlone?" Or when we were on Rush in holidays, she got this one. And some of them she'd take and she'd look at them. But there was lovely moments in the dementia thing. Like she would say, and I hope I don't get upset now saying this, but she'd like, in the middle of all that, she just said, "I love you, Rory." What do you do? So I just said, "I love you too," and continued on. And it's hard, but they're wonderful things, because I was in my 50s. That's not a conversation you would have with your mother. You assume that she assumes you love her, and you know she loves you, and all this type of stuff. But for her just to come out like that in the middle of nothing, where she's not lucid, but by God, when she was with that one sentence, floored me. It was fabulous.
It was the one thing that stood out, and the relationship with your mother is phenomenal in the book and how you describe it. But that one thing, the ornament connection, to me, that makes it.
There's
and it's
always
funny, even
something.
the way you're just thinking about
There's
it now.
something you can always do. Like my mother, there was one thing. Now I'll give you an example. When she was about her losing her filter, she had to go and get a scan done, a brain scan, to see how far the dementia had developed, see if they could see anything, whatever it was. And we went down to Vincent's Hospital. There was a lovely guy there who was looking after her. His name was James. He was a black man. And he charmed her. And I thought, none of this is going to work. She's not going to sit still for a scan. She's going to get terrified. Yeah. She screamed the place down. And He charmed her, and he said to her, "Now, this is what we're going to do." And we said, yes. And I thought, she hasn't a clue. She's not going to go with it. And he says, "Now, I'm going to lie you on this, and then it's going to go into the chamber." And he explained it to her. He says, "Don't be afraid. I'll be here." And as it was going in, she said, "You'll stay here and talk to me, won't you?" And he says, "Oh, yes, I'm here." So it went in, and he said, "No." And all the instructions he gave her, she did perfectly. And I, sitting there gobsmacked. And while this was going on, when it finished, she was delighted with herself, and James says, "Now you'll have to come back in 6 months for another scan." And I said to him, "Oh, ma'am, you're coming back to see James in 6 months," because she really got on with him. And she said, "Oh, lovely." And he said, "No, I won't be here." He says, "I'm going to London." And my mother immediately came in and said, "You'll get a great job on the bins over there." I nearly got sick, and it was one of those boom moments. I nearly passed out. And she said, "My husband's a bus driver. I'll actually get him to talk. We'll put in a word for you. You might get a job on the buses." I realised in her mind she was back in 1957. So that's what I mean. You can communicate. The things with the Toby jugs that I did, you don't know where they are in their life. But if you keep working at it, you'll find something that will connect with them.
We've only got a minute left. Jeff Harris is here. Jeff, good morning.
Hi, Rory.
Hi, Jeff. I met you before. I do indeed.
Jeff is just going to, in 30 seconds, he's going to tell you about the night he was with you in Limerick all night long.
Yeah, well, that's one way of saying it. No, I feel like I'm intruding, but I just wanted to thank you for a wonderful night. Myself and Jean, you invited us up to Limerick to see the show and come back and tell everybody here.
That's right.
That was in the 90s.
That is going back, yes, that is nearly 30 years.
And Jeff is up next now with the show, so we wanted to get Jeff in because he wanted to personally thank you.
Yeah, it was in UL, and we went off to a club. I think you roped off half the nightclub.
That's right, we did.
We had, I don't know if we even went to bed that night. I don't know how you guys...
in those days, that's 30 years ago, so I was probably about 30. I was in my early 30s. I don't go out that much anymore now. But I used to.
Get worn out after that.
Yeah. Listen, continue this conversation in a second. We've run out of time. It's amazing how time the quick goes. Rory, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it.
And I'll see you all in the book centre.
Yeah, the book centre in half an hour. Rory Cowan, Mrs. Cowan's boys. Thank you so much. Continued success, and come back into us before Christmas.
I will. Oh, definitely. I'll definitely be down again. Yes, before Christmas.
Thanks, Rory. God
Thanks
bless.
a lot. Bye bye.